Assalamu alaikum, everybody. We are live here today. Yvonne here from My Halal Kitchen, and I have a very special guest for you, Diane Aboushi from Halal Pastures. Assalamu alaikum, Diane. Thank you for being here today.
Wa alaikum assalam, Yvonne. Thank you so much for including us in today's discussion.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. So for those of you who've been with My Halal Kitchen for a long time, we're doing this for like 11 or 12 years now. You may have heard me mention Halal Pastures in the past. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, Diane, that you and I spoke by phone, and I tried some of your products, and this was back when I was still in Chicago. And yeah, you had just gotten started, I think, or you were maybe a year or two in, something like that.
Yes.
But I was so happy to find you because of your wonderful ethos and, of course, Halal and Tayyib. And we're going to talk about all of that today in today's interview. So I want everybody to please welcome Diane, and please tell us a little bit more about yourself. I'm going to post some links throughout the discussion, and so if anybody's interested as we're talking, please check out their website and feel free to ask questions, which we'll try to address during or after. Okay? Thank you, Diane.
Yeah.
Tell us about you and Halal Pastures and your family.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having us on the show. We met Yvonne when we first started Halal Pastures. I think we were about a year and change in, and we were trying to get our name out there, and so happy that we tapped into Yvonne, who helped put some spotlight on us. I'm grateful to continue to be here today, 6 years later. So alhamdulillah. My name is Diane, and my husband, his name is Samer, and we both run Halal Pastures.
We started our farm with the need to provide wholesome quality food for our family.
And so Yvonne is playing the video that we did a few years back to kind of give people a clue as to who we are. So when we first got married, basically, it was a marriage of ideas. My husband was really interested in the halal, and I was very interested in the organic. And then I got pregnant with our first child, and we wanted to make sure that we gave her the best quality food that you can find out there. You know, when you first start a family, or you just start researching your food, you know, certain things that you don't pay attention to before, you start paying attention to.
Yeah.
And we really wanted just truly tayyib and clean food. And so we couldn't find it. So we made it for ourselves, and then found out that there are other families who are in a similar position as we are and are really looking for the food that is truly tayyib. You know, you want something that's organic, and you also want it to be hand slaughtered. You want the cleanest possible food to feed yourself and to feed your children, your family.
So when you say you found it, so tell us about that process. You know, what did it take to get from actually finding it and then having this farm? And because that in itself is a whole, I know a lot of people who are interested in having their own farms and growing their own food, but tell us a little bit more about that step that you took to actually make the farm, because that wasn't your background, right? I mean, you weren't.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not. So I'm an attorney by training. I'm an attorney licensed to practice in New York. And I've always wanted to be an attorney, and I'm very much an advocate. So now I'm really much more interested in food justice issues and just making sure that we put good food out there.
That's a perfect fit, Diane.
Alhamdulillah, it's totally worked out. I still practice law a little bit, but not as much as I used to, because the farm has been such a huge part of our lives. And I also have my children. I homeschool them, so it's kind of taken up like a full time. It's just a lot to do. So we're really focused on that. There's a book that I read when I was 20 that I want to bring up now because it's completely relevant and informed a lot of how we thought about food when I got married. Fast forward 12 years later after I read the book. It is called Fast Food Nation.
Yes.
Fast Food Nation is a phenomenal book. When it first came out by this, I forgot the name, Eric something. He is a former professor at Columbia, a former history professor at Columbia University. And I read that book and I went into a panic because I said, okay, I'm going to start eating halal food. If you've read that book, you know how bad the conventional food industry is with the meat. And then I realized, Eric Joshua, that's what it is. And then I said, well, halal, all people are doing is taking the conventional meat and just watering it halal. And come to find out even halal isn't halal. hand slaughtered. It's not really hand slaughtered. It's machine slaughtered. So,
well, it's not tayyib.
It's not tayyib.
You're not really sure what the animals are eating and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
You know that they're being really mistreated because you're trying to raise food at a rate that's faster than what the animal can bear in its own personal life. So it's just really bad. So when my husband and I, it was kind of like an onion. I already was very skeptical about meat because of Fast Food Nation.
Mm-hmm.
When we started talking about it, and he said, okay, we want food that's also halal, and we wanted it to be hand slaughtered, and we wanted it to be organic. So we started working with farms that would help us raise the meat that we want to eat. And we were living in Queens at the time. But that wasn't enough for us. We wanted to grow the food and raise the food that we want to eat. So we actually left New York City and we searched high and low, and we found, alhamdulillah, after a couple of years, we've been here now 6 years, we found a property in upstate New York where we can grow the food that we want to feed our family. So my husband and I generally were people who are very hands-on, and it's hard for us to we have, I don't want to say trust issues, but we need to make sure that the food is right.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just wait.
You took
control.
Accountability, control. And that's kind of how you and I met, right? Because also when I started my Halal Kitchen, I realized the same things you were realizing, that, there are certain products that are out there that are halal, but they weren't necessarily tayyib, which
yes.
for those of you who don't know what tayyib is, can you just clarify that? Because you are one of the very few people I know in business doing meat products, halal meat products, that talk about tayyib.
Yes.
Can you interject with that? Because I think that's an important part of who you are and as a business, and we're on the same page with that.
Yes. So tayyib is like a step up. So throughout the Quran, especially in Surah Al-Baqarah, throughout the Quran, you will say that Allah has commanded us to eat food that is halalun tayyibun. And tayyib is translated in the Quran generally as pure. And this is repeated over and over again in Surah Al-Baqarah.
Mm-hmm.
Tayyib, another translation for that would be wholesome, but tayyib is pure. You want food that's pure. It's not just enough to be halal.
Right.
The Quran says halalun tayyibun. So it's halal and tayyib. So it has to be the purest food that you can find. And I think this is what was the sticking point for us. We needed to have pure food. We wanted to meet that standard.
Right. Now, do you equate organic with tayyib in your mind or philosophy? Do you think the two are the same?
I do think they're two in the same. I think that organic is tayyib. If you look at the organic, and not just saying that, I'm looking at the organic certification, like the USDA certifications, it's ensuring that the animals are living in the purest environment possible. And I'm not just talking about no hormones or no antibiotics. I'm talking about access to the outdoors. I'm talking about, a decent life cycle.
There's a holistic outlook on it, right?
There's a holistic outlook on it. Yes.
The medicines that they get. I mean, people sometimes don't realize that, animals get treated like humans in the sense of when they're sick, they get medications, they get antibiotics. And so those also have to be appropriate biologically.
Yes.
Biologically appropriate food for cows, for chickens, like some things are just being fed and they're not biologically appropriate.
Yes.
So.
And I do think that if what I like about the organic label also is that if you cannot speak to the farmer directly, then the organic label kind of, provides you that. If you can speak to the farmer directly and you can ask them questions like,
right.
What do you feed your animals?
Mm-hmm. Right.
How did it start its life?
Mm-hmm.
When was it born? Has it been sick? These kind of questions, where you can talk to someone who has direct access to the animals. Like, I think, these are the, and if you can't get the organic label, you can ask the questions to make sure that the meat that you're eating is pure.
I also not forcing unnatural processes. I think one of the things I remember the most about our initial conversations, Diane, was when we talked about availability of meats. And I think, I don't remember the context, maybe I was asking about spring lamb or something, I don't know. But what I remember is that you told me, well, they're and I'm paraphrasing, but you were saying something to the effect that, well, not everything is available all the time because I'm not forcing the animals to procreate and whatever. I mean, things are on a natural life cycle. I was so relieved and happy to hear that because we don't think about that in general anymore. We just want what we want. I'm gonna make a chicken recipe. Who cares? It's just got to be there, or lamb. I've got to have. But there's certain cycles and seasons for everything.
Yes, there are.
We follow that.
Yes, there are.
It makes my heart relaxed. That animals aren't being forced.
No. And there is a natural life cycle. There, for example, one of the things people ask us is about goat. We don't have goat at the moment. Okay, we are building a program for goat. One thing, I've tried to raise goats a few years ago. I've learned a lot from them. We want to bring that back. There's a couple of things that we learned, and there's a way that it gets done. Okay, so goats eat a certain food. The other thing, the issue with the goats are, for example, goats are subject to, I don't know how much you want to know, but
tell us.
So goats are animals that can get sick pretty easily. They're very sensitive animals, and they're super, super intelligent. They're probably one of the most intelligent animals I've ever dealt with. Okay, yes, they're very, very smart animals. They're browsers, and they like to eat what's around them. And because of that, sometimes they'll get sick. And so there's sometimes diarrhea, and then once they get the diarrhea, they die. Part of it is that what they call worms. Okay, so what I've learned is, yes, so a lot of farmers will worm the goats so that deworm them is what it's called. You deworm the goats so that they don't have, but then they get worming medication so that they don't have that, so that the goats can survive. Okay. What I've learned in talking about very experienced goat farmers is that what they do is they breed goats so that they take the ones with the strongest immune system who can combat the worms without having to give them worming medication. Okay. That process alone is like 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a year and a half. It takes time. It's a 1.5 year process. So what we're starting now, hopefully like down the line, it's a long process. It's not a simple process.
Isn't that interesting though? It's like we aren't the only ones who need a strong immune system to fight off things. And, when animals are given so many antibiotics, and I think in general, people are more aware of the antibiotic issue, but it's not just that. It's also like what everybody's eating, humans and animals included, that if the immune systems aren't strong, then we get sick, and those illnesses need to be treated. So it's interesting that the farmers with the most patience, it seems like, are interested in building their immune systems.
Yes, what is called, basically you're creating a very strong herd. When you create a strong mother, she will produce very strong children.
And
so you just keep the mothers that birth really strong children, and you have a really strong father, and you'll have very good children, and you'll also have it's genes, it's genetics. It's all
genetics, and then following up with the continuation of the proper protocols and diet and medications or whatever that is good for them. I think one of the films, you've probably seen it too, Food Inc., which was really, really old now, but the most interesting thing I took away from that film was that the biological appropriateness of food for cows was so important that when they were giving the cows all that corn and it was messing up their stomachs, that's what created this E. coli problem. Yeah. And from an Islamic point of view, right, that things need to get what they're supposed to eat. Right. So in the halal industry over these years, I've always wanted to see more from people who are producing meat and poultry to say, can you tell us more about what the animals have eaten, or at least be transparent about how you're feeding the animals? Because if they get sick from what you're feeding them, it's like animal cruelty.
Yes.
They suffer. Those cows in Food Inc., if people have seen that, you just cringe, like, how can we do that to the cows? It's cruel. They were suffering. And so there's so much packed into that one topic, just that one area. So as you mentioned, when there's an organic label, there's that one aspect, but then all these other things. So
yes. So like for us, we want to raise the animals in accordance to what works for them. So for example, the lambs, they're born, it's called lambing season. They're lambed in
right. Yeah, the spring.
lamb in spring, so that they're on their mother's milk. And then by the time they go to grass, there's an abundance of grass in the Northeast. Like, New York is just amazing. New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, it's like really beautiful out here. There's an abundance of grass, and they're on grass, and they get to a good weight, and then you can prepare them for slaughter. But, it's like going in accordance with the seasons that's here. So you're working with that life cycle.
Yeah, I think that's super important. So let's take a small break where we can show everybody the video about Halal. It's so beautiful. I want everybody to see it. They can find it on your website, but I just want to take a moment and a breather, and we can come back to our conversation. Okay?
Sounds good.
1 second. Let's find that. Oops. I just had it a second ago. There we go. Okay. I'm going to share my screen.
Halal Pastures is a labor of love.
We started our farm out of a need to provide wholesome quality food for our family. Wholesome and halal food nourishes us spiritually, physically, mentally,
and emotionally. We deeply care about the process from the time the animals raised until it's on the dinner table. And then we eat it up.
Our animals and birds are raised in accordance with their natural life cycle and treated with love. They are then hand slaughtered in the most humane way. There is a higher cost to raising, slaughtering, and processing an animal organically, but a much lower cost on our bodies.
And the secret to delicious
and nutritious vegetables
is healthy organic soil.
We plant, weed, and harvest all of our vegetables and fruits by hand.
We don't cut corners.
We will only feed you what we feed our family.
I promise.
We're all able to see that, right? You can see me now?
I can see you. I wasn't able to see the video, but I saw you.
You didn't see the video?
No, but I know the video. I have it memorized.
Oh, I hope everybody could see it. Oh, then that means maybe it didn't work. Okay, well, I'm going to put a link to that. Okay, so maybe the video didn't show. I'm sorry about that. Okay, well, Here we go. I'm going to just put a link back to the video here, and then people can see it. So a couple of things from that video. That's your daughter talking, right?
It's my daughter, yes.
Okay. That was interesting. So you've really gotten your kids involved in the whole aspect of the farm. And I love that you said in the very beginning that the effect is also emotional.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? What does that mean to you?
So I think that eating wholesome food, tayyib food, has an effect on your spirit. I think it makes you happy, I think when you eat meat from animals that are treated well, you will also feel well, emotionally feel well.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel differently when I eat better food. I mean, just from a purely physiological standpoint, but also I think aesthetically, when we see things that are nicely done, and I mean, the whole craze of Instagrammable food, for example. Why does it lift people up so much? Just when things are natural, they're rustic, they're not perfect necessarily. There's something I think that speaks to everybody's soul. But then also, I think those of us who are really interested in the process and the treatment of animals, when we know, and we can be assured of how they're brought to the table, I think that just rests our hearts a lot more as well.
Yes.
And you don't, I tend to, ever since I started visiting farms and actually seeing the sacrifice of animals myself, I think I've not only eaten less meat, but I've been really careful not to waste anything, because you are hands-on. You see from when those animals are born to the time that they're sacrificed, and it just must feel like, you know, I don't think most people who just go to grocery shopping at the store and pick up a tray of meat really can understand the sacrifice that's involved on your part too.
Yes. So I really don't like it. I don't like wasting meat. And I have get-togethers, right? You have to finish what's on your plate. Like you put enough food on your plate. Nothing goes to waste in my house. I will freeze leftover food. I will freeze leftover meat. I don't like to waste meat. One, I know how much work it takes to raise that animal, to slaughter it properly, to package it properly. This is not something I take very lightly. And this is our farm.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Right.
And I care for every package and every piece of meat that comes out.
Yeah.
I take it very personal if someone throws out a piece of meat that they did not eat. I mean, my people like, you're crazy. Not, I just feel like, it just takes, it's like throwing away a piece of gold. You don't do that. Eat your meat, eat with the meat that you have, and I will save it. And, people criticize me for that when they come over my house, but I don't like to waste food.
I agree with you. And I think that, this, it's sort of trendy right now to eat organ meats and collagens and this and that. But, why are people buying, powdered collagens and all kinds of things? Because they know that they're, health foods now. But back in the day, we didn't have the, when there wasn't this luxury. And I feel like we're almost going back to that in many ways. And that wouldn't be a bad thing, to actually eat all parts of the animal as possible. I mean, most cultures in the world are eating organ meats. The skewers in Turkey, for example, like when I was living there for a couple of years, you ate more organ meat than muscle meat. It's cheaper. It's quick. It cooks quickly, but it's so healthy for you.
So, and absolutely. Like, I did a post recently. We brought back beef fat.
Oh, nice.
So we used to have, beef fat is a great example of that. For us, we don't, people call us and say, do you have any more? You ran out of liver. When are you going to have more liver? I will have more liver for you when my animals get big enough and we have our slaughter date. We will have more liver. I cannot purchase like mass amounts of liver. That's not how we operate. Okay.
Right.
So for us, when we sell the entire animal, that's why when you go to our website, you'll see like all the parts of the animal. It's been turned into a form of food on the websites. But the beef fat, no one was buying it. Okay. So this is like, we're at like 9 years in. And then people started asking for it recently. So we would make it, and the people that would ask for it are moms with kids that have severe allergies and or autistic.
Wow, really? Why? Why is that?
Because these moms are amazing. I've learned just a tremendous amount from them. For the mother that's autistic, and I see the mother that has the child with the allergy issues. There's a book called Gaps.
Yes.
And it talks about beef fat, like inflammation in the brain that's related to inflammation in the gut, and the beef fat will fix that, the beef or the lamb fat. So I've had families over the years ask it, and so we will custom make it, bring it back to the farm for these families, and we'll harvest from the animal whatever beef fat that we have and package it. We've gotten a lot more requests for this beef fat. So, we made some for the families that came, they came to the farm, they picked up the beef fat, and then we offered it for sale to everyone else on the website. And it did very well. Years ago, no one was buying it. I was personally making it as oil. I would simmer down the fat and use it as cooking oil. My husband's like, "What are you doing with all this fat?" I was like, "I'm not."
So tasty.
Yeah, I was like, "Well, I'm not getting rid of it, so I'm going to eat it."
People don't realize that that's kind of what gives flavor. I mean, we just had this discussion about Turkish food on Clubhouse recently, and someone was talking about Iskender, which is one of famous Turkish dish, and they kept saying, well, they put this butter on top, and I said, no, it's not butter, it's the sheep's tail fat. Yes. And that's what makes it so delicious, because they kept saying, well, I don't understand why it's so different in the US, tastes different than in Turkey. or in the UK. And I'm like, because in Turkey, they're actually using the sheep's tail fat, but everywhere else they can't, they're not rendering the fat. So they don't, they just put butter on top or whatever. But
the fat is very important. So, I mean, I grew up, I'm Palestinian, I grew up in Brooklyn, but this was like a part of our diet, like
really? What's part of the Palestinian diet?
I mean, Middle Eastern people cook with this type of fat. They cook with olive oil. They cook with semne, which is and then they'll,
But your family continued that tradition in.
Yeah, so something growing up. This is something that we would use, but it's not, I guess, in the general American public.
Right.
But I would have like my little jar that I made anyway. So this mom that just asked us to make it, she was really panicking. She goes, I really need this beef fat, and I wanted it. She goes, I can get organic fat, but I want it to be halal. And I was like, we will make it for you. That's not a problem. And she educated me. And so I asked her, I was like, listen, you've been feeding this to your child for the last 6 months. I was like, has your child improved? She said her child is really autistic. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give her complete shifa. I mean, easy on this mother. She said she's seen an 80% improvement in this child.
80%.
80% improvement. She goes, it's night and day. She tells me night and day. I was like, from what perspective? She said she's more focused. She's calmer.
Wow.
She's seen a direct impact from the benefit of the beef fat, and she's incredibly well read. It's like the mothers that have children with some health issue or some developmental issues. These are the women that become experts. Like they read everything that's out there and everything that they can so that they can heal their child. SubhanAllah, like there's a lot of benefit to the beef fat. So anyway, I introduced it. We introduced it back on the website, and it did very well. So inshallah, we've made more. We will put it back on the website. But it's just an example of what you were saying earlier about how there's certain foods that are just coming back.
Well, I've always been interested in traditional foods and, foods that like your great-grandparents ate. I mean, we had this discussion when we first talked. I think that's how we kind of came together, was that you're like finding a total gem in this like sea of confusion and food that looks healthy, but it's really not. And, or the whole halal thing. It's like, we want to be supportive of halal products and halal businesses, but I want everyone to come to that gold standard that you are providing. And
barakallah fiki.
Yeah, mashallah, you really, really are, it's not just a business and a service, but it's like you're giving health to people,
Alhamdulillah, yeah. I mean, this was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, sometimes like the days that get really hard and get really tough, I get a call from these moms and these families with the kids that have these issues. And I'm like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us here to take care of them at a minimum, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here to make it easy on these families.
Well, and so many people are reevaluating their health and reevaluating what they're eating. And maybe the pandemic helped with that. I mean, because, we've sort of been in this on the ground for many years now. And but people who maybe had a health scare, or now they've had time to kind of, read up on things or just didn't want all that convenient stuff anymore and realized like there was a parallel between not feeling so great and what they're eating. So maybe this is opening up, more knowledge to people to kind of like understand that they need to support farms like yours and
inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, no, alhamdulillah. I mean, I think there's definitely a growing awareness. I think people want to know where their food comes from. I think people want that, like, to have that good quality food in their system. And people, we mentioned this earlier. People want to take control over what they eat.
Right. And when you do, I write about that a lot. Cooking is self-empowerment 101. It's like when you know how to cook, you take control of your health. But it goes further than that, right? Doing the research, doing the homework, and really understanding. And I'm glad that this whole gut grain thing is becoming more widespread, and people are reading more about that, because we have many instances in Quran where Allah tells us, to be more cognizant of what we're eating and, not filling our stomachs and things like that. I mean, there's so much in our deen, but the two things kind of have to come together, right? This sort of value-based system, and people kind of reading about it in the science community as well. So there's so much coming together. I feel now is a really good time for more and more people to be aware. So I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
Not only, but on this sort of thread. One is your certifier. So tell us, who is your halal certifier, and why did you go with them? Because there's so many different certifiers out there, and I know they're not all the same. So can you tell us why you chosen the one you did?
So we chose Halal Advocates, and the reason why we chose Halal Advocates is because they are a bunch of young, very intelligent scholars who have the same belief that we do, which is that hand slaughtered is halal. They do not believe machine slaughtered is halal, and we also do not believe that machine slaughtered is halal. So
why can you tell us why you think that? What is your perspective on that?
Because in order to slaughter an animal properly, it needs to be done by hand, and you need to say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. You need to have a connection with the animal when you slaughter that animal. You need to give blessings to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a machine slaughter does not do that.
You mean the kind that just like they're on the
conveyor belt?
Yeah, conveyor belt, and then
inhumane.
Recording or something, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's inhumane. So, Halal Advocates came to New York. They flew out from California to New York, and they witnessed our slaughter, and they witnessed our procedure. And we were all on the same page.
Do you slaughter on the farm or somewhere else?
Both. We slaughter at a USDA plant. We do our own slaughter there. We do not have our own processing plant. We're very fortunate enough to have a relationship with 2 USDA slaughterhouses who are certified organic, and they allow us to do Zibiha slaughter. So they allow us to do our Zibiha slaughter. They allow us to have our equipment there, and they really respect us. When we slaughter our animals there,
right?
For our chickens, they close the plant down. So it's just our animals.
So it's just yours. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So to make sure that it's just our animals that are there. What was the question?
We've really done a lot to sort of tighten up the procedure to make sure that it's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we just very strict about that. But we do slaughter on the farm. So for Eid al-Adha, for example, people can come to the farm, and you can do your udhiyah here at the farm. We do lamb udhiyah, and it's one of the most beautiful experiences. My kids love it. The kids that come here love it. We have a celebration here at the farm. So families come and they get to pick their animal. They can do their own zabiha. They're going to do their own dabah and then their own gut and skinning of the animal, or we could do it for you.
Wow.
But the families will stay here. I usually have a bouncy house, face painting, and we have these activities, and the families barbecue, and it's just.
Wow. How many families do you typically have? That's a huge undertaking.
It is. We have alhamdulillah, we have a lot of property here. So it doesn't feel like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because in the location that I'm in, I have 14 acres. So this is just, it makes everyone, doesn't feel like a lot of people, but we have a limited number of lambs. So people usually have to make a reservation with us. I don't have hundreds or even, I don't have even hundreds of animals. But
I wish I could come. I wish I could come.
Yeah, I wish you could. It's a beautiful experience. All our animals meet the, I'm actually going to do a post about this on Instagram for anyone in the next couple of days, but what to look for when you choose your animal to do udhiyah.
That's a great topic. That's a great, and I think more and more people would be interested in that. So I'll post a link to your Qurbani Udhiyah page, because that's sort of front and center on your website. But I like that because people are always looking for places to go, and probably you'll have most local people doing it, right? Because
we actually have people come from all over the U.S. to join us. Yeah, we've got people driving from Florida, people come in from Boston, people come in from all over the Northeast, Michigan, to spend the day.
Wow. And then they probably take coolers and stuff with them to preserve the meat back home. Oh, that is so interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot. I mean, to me, I've seen 10-year-olds do zabiha.
Really? That seems pretty young.
You see, yeah, that's what I thought. Nope, they're fine.
So someone's taught them how to do it.
Yes, people like their parents. It's sunnah in the deen to do your own zabiha, to do your own slaughtering for Eid. And the parents have passed this down on to their children.
Right. Well, I think that I didn't see this until I was in my 20s, and it was just before I was Muslim, actually. Don't mind the cat in the background. She's vying for attention, as all animals do.
Yeah, my boys are right there banging on the door, vying for attention.
It's like a toddler. Anyway, but I didn't see it until I was in my 20s, and it was such a spiritual experience for me because it was the first time I thought, you know, is this really happening? Is this really, you know, because if you've never grown up seeing it, you really don't make the connection between a package of meat at the store and like where it really comes from. So I feel like, and every time I do see it, I don't see it all the time, but maybe every few years when I'm visiting a farm or something. But every time I see it, it sort of gives me this renewed sense of humility, and like it resets my need to kind of really take the gratitude and appreciation for what we're given in these, you know, beautiful animals for nourishment for us. And I think anybody who can take the opportunity this year to do it and see it should do that. You know, I really think so.
It's sunnah to do your own slaughtering for Eid, and people who come to the farm, and we will show you how to do it. We will do it with you. My husband's the one that does the zabiha. He will show you,
shows everybody,
and show you how to do it. And it is a very humbling experience. One thing you learn very quickly is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put these animals that it's halal for us to eat for the purpose of eating.
Yeah, and that means don't waste any bit of it, right?
I don't.
For broth, use the fat for cooking, all of that stuff. I mean, it's like nothing, no part of it should be wasted.
No, I don't like to.
And this is a silly question maybe, but do you do anything with the wool? Do you ship it out somewhere? Does anybody use it?
So you will learn that there are different types of lamb. And so there are lambs that are bred specifically for wool. And then there are lambs that are bred specifically for meat. The lambs that we have are bred specifically for meat, and they actually don't have wool.
Really?
Yeah, they're called katadans. There's very little wool on them.
Interesting.
Yeah, very little wool.
My goodness, I had no idea.
They have wool, but not like the kind that you would. And the meat, the ones that, and there's a difference in the taste in the lambs versus the one that are made for wool versus the one that we have our breed.
Okay, I don't know enough. I've been to in Wisconsin. They have a sheep's wool festival every year. I used to go when I was in Chicago, but I never realized how many different types of sheep there were, you know.
Yeah.
And, but it's a fascinating world. And in Turkey, before the Eid, few days before, well, I had never realized this before either. I mean, I know there's preparation for the animals, and I'll ask you how you do that as well. But I was sitting in my apartment, and I started to hear this bah outside the window, and I'm like, what is that? Why do I hear a sheep? Am I hearing things? Or maybe I have a video going. I don't know what's that. And I looked outside, and there was a sheep, you know, tied to the tree, and he was just chomping on the pomegranate leaves. And I found out that, you know, it was because the neighbors were, you know, preparing him for the, you know, yeah.
Well, one of the things I will tell you that the families like to do with the animals. So I don't say that there's no wool. There's wool on it, but it's not a breed that's made for wool. There's certain breeds of lambs just for wool. But people will take the skin to make rugs out of it.
The skin?
Yeah.
Okay.
They send it to like there are companies in the Midwest or other farms that will take the skin of the animal and turn it into a rug for you. They will like dry it. There's a whole process to it. You're supposed to salt it, then keep it in the sun to dry. It's a process.
Well,
but you can definitely make rugs out of it.
It's better than a synthetic. I'm in love with the tribal rugs and the, you know, all sheep's wool rugs and, you know, everything not wasted, you know, that they've done of it. So yeah, I think it's really nice to hear somebody who's really interested in that whole life cycle and respecting it, and then you're also taking an extra step to educate people as well. So that you're a busy lady. I know you also grow produce as well. So you're offering that. Is that part of like a CSA? Do you
Yes, yes, we do a CSA. Yes, so we offer a CSA in New York. So if you're in New York, you're more than welcome to come to the farm on a weekly basis every Tuesday. And what we harvest, inshallah, is what you get in your CSA bag. We're also part of Grow New York City. Grow New York City is a program where farmers can come to New York City and sell their products. And so we're part of Grow New York City also. And our farmers market is starting this Sunday, inshallah. We'll be at 92nd Street and 2nd Avenue for those in the tri-state area. If you'd like to stop by, we'll have our meat and we'll also have vegetables and we'll have eggs from our chickens.
You are super, super big. How do you manage all of this? I mean, growing things and then going to the markets, and it's a lot. It's a lot. You're seriously giving people healthy, nutritious food.
Well, alhamdulillah. I mean, we try. We have a network of people that have helped us get to where we are today. The farmers that help us, and Grow New York City that help us, and the customers that help us, and you that helped us. Like, alhamdulillah, like we started small, and like every little, we grow little by little every year.
Well, I'm happy to hear about the fat. I think I'll be ordering that for sure, because it does make food taste different. And there's lots of other products I've seen that I didn't notice from last time, because it's been a couple of years since I've been not in the US. So now that I'm, reconnecting with you, I want to tell people you also have deli meats.
Yes.
You also have like ground chicken, which is, it might not sound like much, but it's hard to find halal ground chicken in the store. There's maybe like one other company I know that does that.
Yeah.
And turkey meat, which that's also not easy to find.
No. Yeah. Our turkeys are seasonally raised. So they're raised and then they're slaughtered. And then if we run out of something, you gotta wait till the next batch coming year. And
demand too.
It's in demand, but this food is, it's made for people that want to know that the animal is raised in a certain way, and then also want to be connected to the land through their food.
But doesn't it give us also patience and something to look forward to seasonally? I think, most of the world operates like that. They get excited when there's a season for something. I don't want to see watermelon in the winter. Thank you very much. I want to see it in the summer when it's sweet and tasty and your body really needs it, for example, right?
Yeah, I feel that way about eggplant. We grow eggplant here. Yeah, it's like all these vegetables. When I see these items in the supermarket, I have to take a double, I have to put that there, because, for us, we eat a lot of it. Like we eat most of our vegetable consumption in our household is between May and November. And then I freeze whatever we don't sell at the farmer's market, or, whatever we don't sell, I will freeze them and put them in our freezers and then eat them throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And if I run out, I'm going to wait till I grow some more.
Right. I feel also that, Allah gave us these things at the season that our body needs them to.
Yes.
Right? Like if you look at citrus, lemons, oranges, they're available in the wintertime, right? They're growing in the wintertime, and your body really needs that vitamin C at that time. So it's interesting how and I'll be honest, like when I was in Turkey and everything was seasonal, local, it was not easy. It's a trendy word, like eat seasonal, eat local, but it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's the right thing for your body. So
yes,
it prevents you from overeating as well. You get the cherries when they're ripe, and then you don't get 5 pounds of it. You get what you're going to eat and enjoy and move on to the next thing that's available.
Along that point, I had a doctor give me this advice when I first had my daughter, like almost 90 years ago now. He said, go and print out in your state, the vegetables that are seasonally grown throughout the year, what's available. Mm-hmm. Then go out and purchase that. And that's what you should eat. Mm-hmm. Farmers markets are a great time, for example, in New York, to buy blueberries, because it's in season and you're going to get them very cheap.
Right.
Compared to if you bought them off season and just freeze them. I'm a fan of frozen everything. I'm converted. I'm a frozen.
Well, people have a myth about frozen stuff. I mean, if you freeze it when it's fresh, it can be better than some things that are,
Yeah, I mean, our meat's frozen. Like our vegetables, we freeze it. Like I'm a big fan of freezing something in that moment of time,
Yes.
and defrosting it when we're ready to eat it. But
Yeah.
you know, totally go to your Department of Agriculture website for your state and print out what vegetables are in season when. Go to the farmer's market, buy them, and then you can store them. You can put them in Ziploc bags, blanch them, put them in Ziploc bags. There's like a ton of YouTube videos on how to do this.
Yeah.
You can make your own tomato sauce. I'm sure you have a recipe on how to make the tomato sauce.
Oh, yes.
So it says make
no
the tomato.
Italian goes without that.
That's right.
But to your point, I mean, I throw everything from that I've got in my freezer in soups, or if it's a fruit, it goes in a drink, a smoothie, something like that. I mean, again, not to waste stuff. You know, I don't actually freeze too much anymore, but what I do does get thrown into things, and so it's there's a lot more baraka in that too when we're not wasting anything.
I agree, and for me, I'm fortunate since I'm on the farm. Whatever we don't eat, I feed to my chickens.
Yeah, you have like this. Do you compost as well?
I do compost. I'm composting now, but it's not going to be ready for another year, so I'll use it for next year.
That's a whole other topic. I love.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
My chicken manure composting.
I'm having an issue now because I'm in an apartment, but when I had my house on land, I was like notorious. Everyone used to get upset with me because I'd say, "Do not throw the banana peel away. Do not throw the orange skins away." Everything got composted, and it was like, oh, rolling the eyes. You know, here we go again. She wants to compost. But I know people do it in apartments, but you need a little bit of a setup. But I cringe every time I have to throw any food scraps in the garbage. It just doesn't feel right anymore.
Yeah, I don't. Even my eggshells.
Yeah,
the eggshells. The chickens eat the eggshells. My egg layers.
Yes.
They will eat the eggshells, and we will also put them on the plants so they can get calcium. I
was going to say, so I was soaking them in water and then using the water for the plants too. I think you can do that as well.
You can do that as well, yeah. So maybe we crush them and we just when we till the land, or just stick them on top. It works. Like this is a way of you just put it back in. But this goes back to us. I just don't like wasting food.
Right. When also banana, now that we're talking about it, my aunt used to put the banana peels in a blender, and or she would chop them up really small, and then she would throw that in her in the soil by her tomatoes and her roses, and they just bloomed like crazy. I mean, she had beautiful plants, and she would say, just all those bananas that you're using, just throw them in. It has to be
potassium.
Yeah. So
phosphorus that's in there for the soil. So this tip for those who, I get this question a lot. So maybe if your viewers are tuned in for this, they're probably interested in growing their own food. People sometimes don't have luck with growing their own food. Get your soil tested.
Right.
Test the soil, and then add it back into your soil. There's probably a mineral or some nutrient that's missing in your soil that's preventing the plant from taking off. So I would get your soil tested and then add that nutrient back to the soil.
Well, if you think about it, that's the foundation for the health of the plant, which is the health of the fruit that you're going to be eating, which affects our health, right? Which I feel like the further that these plants or products are sent away and shipped out to us, Chinese have a concept of qi, right? So that once something is picked from a tree, the longer that it takes for you to eat it, the less energy it has. It's losing energy day by day.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's pretty interesting because, when you eat something that's local, it's fresh, you've got more of that nutrition packed into your body because it's had less time off the tree.
Yeah, I think, yes, I agree. And to the extent that, we kind of talked about this a little bit, before we came on, but I'm a big proponent of growing your own food.
Yes, I was just going to talk. Food freedom, please do.
I'm a big proponent of growing your own food, and you should absolutely take control of your food. You should absolutely try to grow what you can in the space that you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if you have a small space. I mean, I have a little balcony here, and I just put, plants and herbs, and not only does it make you happy, but you've got fresh herbs to enjoy in your cooking. I mean, we can all do something. Right. And it makes you feel a little bit more empowered, like in your cooking. I can't grow, lots of things that you'd grow on a farm, but I'm doing what I can to have the fresh things that, and if not, then I will support the local farmers and my farmers markets.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have milk here. We had goat milk years ago, and it was like phenomenal. Like I'd go right outside my house and like would milk the goat, and I have goat milk, right?
Oh, wow.
It was impressive.
And what happened?
Huh? They were milk breed goats. They were not meat goats.
Okay.
So we just wanted to try them out. So they were really good. But I mean, for us, it got a little bit overwhelming. Like we had to pick and choose what we could do. So I don't have milk on my farm. Like I actually get it from another source, but I'm going to try a local farm called Freedom Hill Farms in the New York area. If anyone's here, I'm going to try them this summer. Everyone speaks very highly about them.
I was going to ask you, do you ever do exchanges with other farmers in the area? Are you close by any other people?
I do have other farms in the area. The farms that are around me are mostly meat farms that are near me. We don't really do exchange with anyone, the barter system, although that would be like a really good idea.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
But we are a network of farmers. Like one thing I realized just coming to the farming industry is everyone's trying to help each other out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's when people are connected to the earth and food. I think food people connected to animals and the earth, there's just a different vibe. There's a different energy. There's a certain humility when you are working with some things that are not necessarily always in your control. Actually, never in your control, really. I have 2 Marima sheep herding dogs that we just got like 2 months ago in preparation for the goats, because they will be excellent guard dogs for the goats. Yeah. And so we have some goats here, and they're learning to get accustomed to them. But these dogs are a handful. Let me tell you, they live outside and they've taken off and I've gotten calls from all over the neighborhood saying, "Hey, are these yours?" I say, "Yes." I told my husband, "Listen, it's the first time us having dogs. We're a little bit over our heads, but we need them for the goats because part of the reason why our goat herd didn't do well is we had a predator issue. The foxes would get to them, other animals would get to them, and the goats, just as smart as they are, couldn't defend themselves." Right. So, we also need the dogs here to take care of the chickens, but they're a handful. I went to visit a friend the other day who has a farm, and she has her chickens, and her chickens are like, wow, like they're doing like so well. I was like, who's watching your chickens? I look, and it's a llama. A llama? Yeah. So llamas, and I know that llamas are excellent guard animals also. No, they will make a heck of a lot of noise when a wolf comes by, or a coyote, or or a fox. The first thing she told me, she's like, "Don't get too close." She goes, she said, "Oh, you can get close. He won't spit at you." So the llamas will spit at you, and my Marimas will run away. And so I asked her, I was like, "Listen, my Marimas keep running away. But then they come back to us. They're puppies. They're still small, so they have to take care of the animals. Why are you leaving the animals? This is your job." Right. We're kind of struggling with that right now. And she goes, "Oh, my llama ran away." So llama ran away.
Because the llama ran away. I was like, one thing you will learn that people don't know is llamas will outrun humans. They're one of the fastest animals. So the llama's running down the street. And I said, "Well, how'd you get the llama back?" She goes, I lured it back with a cookie. No. I lured the llama back with a cookie. So I'm not chasing llamas down the road. I'm not doing that.
I don't know if the dog, well, you need a lot of treats is what you need.
Yeah, the dogs, they come right back. Everybody knows Halal Pastures has these 2 dogs.
What kind of dogs are they again?
They're called Marima sheep herding dogs.
Sheep herding dogs. Okay, Marima.
They stay outside. They take care of the animal. Like they're I love them. They're beautiful. Except they're like my toddlers. They don't listen. Yeah. They've gotten calls from people 3 miles away. "Hey, are these your dogs?"
Well, you certainly have your hands full, and I don't want to take up more of your time because I know how precious it is what you do. But I really hope that this will help people sort of understand more about what you do, who you are, your values, your family values, and but I do need one thing from you before you go. Can you tell us what is your favorite family recipe with the meats that you produce?
My favorite family recipe? Yeah. Oh boy, but there is a lot.
If you could just pick 1 or 2, just something simple to inspire us, and then maybe that's something that people can choose from your website and try to make themselves.
Okay. You probably have a recipe for this, but meatballs. Mm-hmm. So my kids and my husband, we all love these meatballs. They're super quick to make. We use our Halal Pastures ground beef. Mm-hmm. Basically take 2 pounds of ground beef and then put some, I don't have measurements, okay? I do this what they call al baraka. Okay. Generous amounts of parsley, salt, pepper, and then I put Parmesan cheese, and then I put breadcrumbs in there. I put one.
You're Italian then. If you put Parmesan and breadcrumb in your.
I know. This is an Italian recipe, and then I put an egg in there. Mix, some olive oil. Put onion powder. Put garlic powder in there, and then make them into balls. And then I actually saute them over olive oil. Mm-hmm. They get really nice and brown. And then make your favorite tomato sauce. I make my tomato sauce from scratch, and then I cook them all together, and that's like a really good meal.
That is something I can get behind. I'll come for dinner.
You are more than welcome to come here anytime.
Very few people make the meatballs just like that. That's exactly how my grandmother made them.
Really?
Yes, and you have to saute them in olive oil. We had this discussion with my aunts a few weeks ago, because I said I got a little bit lazy, and I said, I'm just gonna make them and then throw them in the sauce and let them cook, because I thought my grandmother, I swear I saw her doing that once, and then my aunt said, no way, you have to fry them in the oil. And I said, well, I normally do, but I wanted to take a shortcut, and she said, never ever do that.
I like your aunt.
And then she's like, they will never taste right unless you do that. And I said, okay, stick to the tradition, right? Stick to the tradition. Do it the way the grandma.
I thought they fall apart if you don't saute them.
They don't.
Oh, it's interesting.
I'm
still gonna lightly fry them.
Yeah, I don't like to fry them too much, but it was just a shortcut I wanted to take. I didn't feel like frying everything, but I got in trouble over that. So.
Yes, you did.
So I'll never put that part in a cookbook, right? It'll have to be fry them for sure, and then because you get the olive oil taste. Everything is about the olive oil.
By the way, Yvonne has her book that came out called My Halal Kitchen, came out a while back. And I have it here, and we sell it here at the farm. And everybody loves your book.
Oh, thank you so much.
People who are not Muslim have bought that book to understand what halal means and to learn more about halal pastures, actually. Even though it's not about halal pastures, but people are interested in learning about what halal is, to use some halal recipes. And I tell them that this woman, the author, is Italian descent. And they go nuts, like, oh my God. Yeah, they love it.
Oh, alhamdulillah. That makes me so happy, because I feel like you're the perfect person to work with on that, and we have so much of the same thinking going on, and just trying to show people that halal is not something strange or weird or for only Muslims. That's a really big point, right? Like everybody can enjoy halal stuff. It's about the process, and you are the living example. You and your family are the living example of what halal truly is and should be. You're setting that standard, and I couldn't be happier to know you.
And, Vicky, same here. It was really great talking to you, and do such amazing work just educating the Muslim community and educating others on halal ways of enjoying your food. Yes,
inshallah, we will meet someday on your farm. I hope I can. Now that things are opening up, there might be a possibility of that, and I'm really happy to see that farmers markets are coming back, because here in California, when I came back during COVID, there was a very limited farmers market, and it was scary to see how little food was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It shocked me, and I just thought, okay, I need my own farm because this is not working. But inshallah, now that things are back to not normal, well, getting there, but open. Hopefully, this weekend the farmers markets will be like the farmers markets we expect in the summer.
Yeah, no, alhamdulillah, New York at the farmers markets did pretty well last year. I mean, there was people had produce, people had food for sale, and the farmers in New York, I should say this tri-state area, from the farmers I see at the farmers market in New York City, really stepped up their game.
That's good to hear. I think what happened eventually was that they were initially closed, which is when I went, or closed or limited, but then they were slowly.
Maybe that's what it is.
people thought about them being essential businesses, and then they got a little better. But it definitely is an essential business. You're providing food to people and food that we need. Healthy food.
Yeah.
During a pandemic when we need
that's a whole other conversation. We had people come into the farm to buy food, and we had like a whole system. Stay in your car, call us, we will pack your food for you and put it in your trunk of your car. And this was the procedure that all the farms in upstate New York were following.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It seems like you guys were really organized, because I know that's a stress. That was a stress on people, where to get healthy food. And then you go to the stores when things aren't healthy and they're way more expensive, and
Yeah,
so.
it was like it was a very tough time. But alhamdulillah, like I think we just you kind of improvised. You just did what you had to do. Like people needed the food. I mean, we're not going to close, but we just had a system. Call us when you get to your car. Tell us what you would like. We packed your food for you, and then we would put it into their trunk of their car. Mm-hmm. And that was it. Contactless delivery. That was like a new phrase that came out during the pandemic.
And I imagine that having the pandemic being such a scary time for everybody, but the fact that you had a farm or have a farm and grow your own food must have felt like a relief, in that sense of like knowing that you can still feed your family. You have a place to grow things and the knowledge about food. I mean, I think that's what makes a lot of people nervous sometimes is, if this happens again, where am I going to get, what am I going to do?
So we get our seeds from a place called Johnny Seeds, which is
Johnny Seeds are good.
Johnny Seeds. So most farmers get their seeds from Johnny Seeds. It's Johnny Seeds, there's Seeds Exchange, there's a bunch of different companies. Did you know this year they sent out an email in like in January, saying that we are so delayed, and this was back in early the year, we are so delayed in filling orders because of the surge in need for seeds that they're going to fill the orders for farmers first and everybody else second.
Wow.
So people have taken control of making their own food, precisely for the reason that you said. And so we have on our Instagram page, we've actually been starting to just educate people on some of we farm, so it's on a bigger level, but some of the tips that we put on our website is so that people can try them at home with their own garden.
Yes. I feel, this was a long time coming. This was inevitable, actually, because when I lived on land, years ago, and had planned to do everything organic and grow stuff, not a farm, but my own sort of homestead.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome.
I can't tell you how many people told me I was wasting my time, and it was, you're just wasting your energy. What are you doing? You're waiting for like Armageddon. And I was like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with, it's not a fear-based thing. It was taking control and accountability as much as I could for my own health, and it's empowering to learn how to do something like basic. It's a survival skill, and yes, we don't need to in the U.S. Let's say we can grab whatever we want, but who's to say that we would come to a point where we would need to have our own stuff? And lo and behold, this thing happens. It just goes to show that nothing is a given, that it never hurts to know how to cook, how to grow things.
I
what
agree.
do you have about your health? What do you have about your health?
I fully agree. I think there's a way to, now in New York City, they have like rooftop farms, and then they have like the vertical wall, and like, there's a lot, people are coming up with a lot of ways to use whatever space they have to grow whatever food that they can. And alhamdulillah, that's a very nice thing.
It's a great thing. And I think even restaurants across America are also getting better at serving healthier food. I'm noticing like a trend of and I hope it's not just a trend. I hope it's something that stays with us, where, there is more of a focus on local grown, or, a lot more vegetables or humanely raised meats and things like that, which we've needed for a long time. I hope it's not something that just, is an Instagram hashtag trendy type of thing and it's gone in a couple of years. I hope this is a lesson that we need to support farmers, people who grow our food, people who bring us healthy things. And things can be a little pricier, but in the end, it's just an investment in our health. I'd rather pay you than my doctor. Sorry to say, but I don't want to have to go to the doctor for things that, that could have been avoided if I just ate well.
Yes, inshallah. I mean, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in our efforts to live the way He needs us to live and to take care of our bodies and those around us.
I mean, thank you, Diane. I know I've taken a lot of your time, but I hope that, if anybody has more questions, you can continue to post them on this page, and then we can try to answer them. And I encourage you all to visit halalpastures.com, and your Instagram is at Halal Pastures Farms, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Halal Pastures Farms.
Please follow them on Instagram, and I look forward to seeing more of your tips. And then hopefully one day soon, I hope I can meet you in person.
Yeah, we'd love to meet you in person. Love to have you on the farm. Thank you so much for having me here today. We're very honored to talk to your audience.
Thank you. It was my honor and pleasure. So we'll see you again soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum.